passionate logic.
New ideas and efficient tools for a happier, more connected life.
One of the coolest things about meditation is it actually energizes you. And if you would have told me that 40 years ago when I opened my first gym, I would have told you you're nuts. How can sitting still, being quiet, and breathing energize you for the rest of the day? And in my experience with meditation, when I'm doing it regularly, I get just as much energy out of that as I do my hour-long workout. And what I found with meditation, it's important for me to use a guided meditation to where I'm being directed on where my breathing is going, like up to my crown and down to my base, and that helps me keep my mind from thinking. The important part of meditation is to get your brain paying attention to the meditation, the quiet, the lack of thought, and it gets preoccupied. I remember a Buddhist monk video that I saw. He said, yeah, it's really easy to preoccupy your brain. All you have to do is say, okay, brain, pay attention to this breath in. And the brain says, okay, I'll pay attention to this breath in. And then it does. And then you say, okay, brain, pay attention to this breath out. And then it goes, okay, I'll pay attention to this breath out. And there's no other thought.
An actual coping mechanism that works, it can be challenging to set up, but probably the most effective one I know is a support network. And many of us feel isolated now. We're connected digitally, but separated personally and physically. And so we have these false fronts that we throw up to make our life look good, this pixel thin wall that we put up to make our life look positive from the outside. And then we're alone behind our wall and struggling. So Troy and I have been meeting for 12 years, once a week. Most weeks we miss once in a while. But our relationship is primarily devoted to supporting each other, to listening when they talk and giving unbiased, sometimes brutally direct opinions and advice and thoughts on what's going on for them, and then seeing what's coming up.
It's feedback without judgment.
Yeah.
We've learned to listen and speak to each other without judgment. And we're careful not to make each other wrong, because we each do that well enough on our own.
Yeah. So that network, and having just one person is amazing, and having multiple people. Sometimes I'll talk to Troy and I'm just not getting what he's saying. Like, he has a certain way of putting it and it just doesn't quite click. So then I have my old roommate that I go out to lunch with, and I've got my dad who I can talk to, and sometimes I get it from him when I didn't get it from other people, and sometimes I don't hear what he's saying, it's just not hitting me right, so then I talk to my mom. And if that isn't working, sometimes it's talking to my wife. And there's no priority in these, it just depends on, it may be like something comes up right before I meet with Troy, or this really stressful thing happens at work, and so I go home and there's my wife. And sometimes talking with the first person helps me get through it, and sometimes it doesn't, and then I've got somebody else. But having one person makes all the difference in the world, and having more just multiplies that.
Right.
Having that support network divides your problems by the number of people that you have in your network.
In a marriage situation, my wife and I are both coaches, life coaches, but we're not the ones to process each other all the time. There are many times where whatever she's grinding on, I'm not the person to help her. And so I encourage her to go to her support partner, and she'll tell me the same thing. She goes, well, I guess I'm not getting you there. It might be time to call Mark. So absolutely want to have a support network. And you'd be amazed at how uplifting a support network can be when you're bonding over the laying down of resentment and experiencing more of the truth about ourselves and each other and life.
When I heard about a support partner for the first time, I thought it sounded ridiculous. Why would I want to waste that much time just talking about stuff?
We talked about that at the end of our first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
What a waste of time.
Yeah, but somehow we met up again. Even if the whole hour we're meeting, or however long it is, even if it's all about them, and it's just an hour of Troy talking about a situation in his life, or I come up and I'm just got this thing that's overwhelming me, and he says, how are you doing? And I just launch into it. I found even when I'm on the receiving end of that, when I'm just listening and observing, that I get something out of it. When I see Troy work through something difficult, then it gives me the courage to work through that, something similar. Or
and vice versa. When my watch you work something difficult, I get something out of that, even if you take up the whole hour.
Yeah. And before, there's been times when one or the others has apologized, I'm sorry that this was about me this time, and almost always the response is, well, I got just as much out of it.
Mm.
It's not like I'm sacrificing my hour for Troy.
Mm-mm.
It's, I think, almost without exception, especially recently, when Troy and I meet, I leave feeling more connected and more centered and more present and more open than I was. And it wasn't always that way. It was rockier at the beginning when we were laying the groundwork for setting this up. But if you can get it, it will change your life.
I remember times when we were working together and sitting down and thinking, everything's great, I'm fine, cool, we're good. And then you'll be talking about something for you, and then all of a sudden I'll like drop in like, oh, yeah, I wasn't actually fully here, but now I am. I'm fully home inside myself, and thank you for that.
Thank you for watching our video.
If you like the video, please subscribe.
Please like.
Please leave a comment below. Thank you so much.